Hello students, this is Dr. Mercado speaking. Welcome back to Accounting 2302, Managerial Accounting. In today's lecture, we are going to be covering exercise 19.5, which deals with support department cost allocation using the direct method. Okay, let's take a quick look at the problem. Just a friendly reminder to please ensure that you read the entire chapter before you begin working on your assignments for the week. Okay. So this is what the problem looks like, okay? We have a Becker Tabletops has two support departments, janitorial and cafeteria, and two production departments, cutting and assembly. Relevant details for these departments are as follows, okay? So the support departments, their purpose is to be there to support the production departments, okay? They have nothing to do with the production of the goods, but rather they're there to provide a service to the individuals working in the production departments, because without the support departments, then the production departments can't really function. So these are just added support departments available to them. Okay, so the support department, the janitorial department, the cost driver for them is the square footage to be serviced. So we're going to be categorizing the expenses based on how much square footage do they have to clean for each of the production departments. So we have the two production departments, cutting and assembly. And the job of the janitorial department is to keep those two departments clean, okay? The cafeteria department is there to provide cafeteria services to the employees of the production departments, okay? The cost driver for the cafeteria department is the number of employees, okay? So we're going to allocate the cost of feeding the employees based on the number of employees on each of the departments, okay? So we have four departments in total, janitorial and cafeteria. Those two are the support departments that are providing support to the production departments, which are the cutting and assembly departments. We have the department cost, the square feet for each of those departments, the number of employees. Using the information provided, we are going to allocate the support department cost to the production department using the direct method. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, the janitorial and the cafeteria department would not need to be there if it was not to service the cutting and the assembly department. So whatever expenses we are incurring to have the janitorial and cafeteria department will be allocated to the cutting and assembly department as needing based on the cost drivers. Okay, so let's look at we are focusing on the direct method in this particular problem. So let's learn a little bit about what the direct method means, okay? So the direct method allocates all support department costs directly to the production departments. So whatever is spent on all the support departments, in this case we have two support departments, all of the costs associated with the support departments are going to be dispersed to the production departments based on the cost drivers, okay? In doing so, the direct method ignores the possibility that some support departments may also serve other departments. In contrast, the sequential and reciprocal methods consider inter-support department service costs, okay? So, using the direct method, there's 5 steps that we need to follow, okay? Step number 1, the costs for each department are determined by identifying costs that can be traced to a specific department. Next, any remaining overhead costs are distributed to departments using a cost driver. In step 2, we're going to, an appropriate cost driver must be determined for each support department, which in our problem that has already been provided. In step 3, the usage of the support department's cost drivers by each department is determined. In step 4, the percentage usage of support department's cost drivers by the production department is determined. And in step 5, the support department costs are allocated to the production departments by multiplying the percentage usage of each production department by the total support department cost. Okay, and if you look at your ebook, there is an example provided for this. Okay, so let's run the numbers using the data that we have. Okay, so this is fairly straightforward, not very complex. It's common sense material here. Okay, so let's analyze the data. We've got janitorial, we've got cafeteria. Those two departments support the cutting and assembly department by cleaning they provide cleaning for those departments, and cafeteria services to those employees. Okay, so for the janitorial department, we're going to be distributing the cost by the number of square footage to be serviced. For the cafeteria department, we're going to be distributing the cost by the number of employees in each of the cutting or assembly departments. Okay, so let's begin with, we're going to have to distribute the cost of the janitorial department. Okay, so let's focus on the janitorial. Okay, so we have to distribute those costs. Let me see. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at the janitorial department. So we have to distribute, okay, those $310,000 that it's costing the company to the cutting department and the assembly department based on square footage. Okay, so let's put it here. Janitorial. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, let's do 14. Okay, so we have janitorial department cost allocation. Okay, so we are allocating the cost of the janitorial department to the cutting and the assembly department. Okay, so let's first figure out the cutting department. Okay, how much of the cost of the $310,000 is going to be charged to the cutting department? Okay, so if we look at the cutting department, okay, we're currently going to be distributing the janitorial department cost of $310,000, and we distribute the cost based on square footage. Okay, that's the cost driver. So let's look at the cutting department. The cutting department has 1,000 square feet, and the assembly department has 4,000 square feet. Okay, so in total, the janitorial department is cleaning those 5,000 square feet of facility for the production of the goods, right? So the cutting department is 1,000 square feet. So we're going to start off with the 1,000 square feet. Okay, and I am going to divide that, okay, by the total square feet of the two production departments. We have 1,000 square feet for cutting, okay, plus 4,000 square feet for assembly. So the cutting department has 1,000 square feet, okay, and we're going to distribute that by the total of the two departments, which is the 1,000 cutting and the 4,000 assembly. That's 5,000 square feet in total. Okay, so if we have 1,000 square feet divided by 5,000 in total of the two production departments, that is going to give me 20%. The cutting department is 20% of the total janitorial services to be serviced. Okay, that gives me a 20%. Okay, so let's refresh. What are we doing here? Well, we're identifying that the cutting department gets serviced 1,000 square feet of janitorial services. Okay, that's what they get serviced. Now we're going to divide their usage by the total usage of the square footage to be serviced of both production departments. So the both production departments in total have 5,000 square feet, 1,000 from cutting and 4,000 from assembly. So if you get the 1,000 divided by the total of the two production departments, that's 4,000 plus 1,000, that's 5,000. That's going to give you 20%. So that means that 20% of the cost of the janitorial expenses is going to be allocated to the cutting department. Okay, so now that we know that, we're going to get 20% of the total cost, and we're going to multiply the cost. The cost for the janitorial department is $310,000. Okay, so then that is going to give me, okay, so the cost for the janitorial is $310,000. And 20% of those costs are going to go to the cutting department. That means that we're going to allocate $62,000 of the janitorial department's cost to the cutting department. Okay. Now, Let's look at assembly. Okay. The assembly department has 4,000 square feet to be serviced. Okay, 4,000. We're going to divide by the total, which is the 1,000 plus the 4,000, which gives you the 5,000. We're going to divide by the total square footage serviced of the production departments, because remember, if we look over here on the notes, the direct method allocates all support department costs directly to the production department. So the entire cost of the janitorial department is going to be allocated to these two right here, to either the cutting or assembly. Okay, so for the cutting and assembly, we've got 5,000 square feet to be serviced. And let's see what that gives us. So we have the 4,000 divided by the 5,000 total square feet. That gives me 80%, which makes sense. Okay. So that means that the cutting department gets charged 20% of the expenses for janitorial, and the assembly department gets charged 80% of the cost for the janitorial, because the assembly department is much bigger in square footage. Okay, so we're distributing the cost based on square footage. So now that we have that, we're going to get the 80% of the cost by the total cost of 310,000. And let's see what that gives us. So we've got 310,000 times 80%. That gives me $248,000. Okay. So when we are allocating the cost for the janitorial services, those janitorial service costs are going to be allocated to the cutting and assembly department only, because those are my production departments. And we are allocating it based on square footage. The cutting department has 1,000% of the square feet. That is equivalent to 20% of the total square footage. The assembly department has 4,000 square footage. That is 80% of the square footage. And we got that by getting the 1,000 plus the 4,000. That's 5,000 total square footage divided by each of the department's square footage. Okay, so that gave us a 20-80% split. Okay, the cutting gets 20%, the assembly department gets 80%, and that will be the cost distribution. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing, but in this case, we're going to distribute the cafeteria. Okay. Cafeteria. Okay. So we're going to do the same concept, but now we're going to distribute the cafeteria cost. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at cafeteria. Okay. Okay. So for my cafeteria, okay, remember, the cafeteria is going to be, the cost is going to be distributed based on the number of employees. The cutting department has 30 employees. The assembly department has 10 employees. Okay, so in total, how many employees do we have? Well, 30 plus 10 gives you 40. So we have a total of 40 employees in our production departments. Okay, so how many employees does my cutting department have? We have 30 employees, so we're going to get the 30 employees, okay? And then we're going to divide by the sum of the two departments, okay? How many total employees do we have? Well, we have 30 plus 10, okay? So that gives me 40. So we're going to divide 30 divided by 40. That gives me 75%. So that means that, let me put it right here. That means that the cutting department has 75% of the employees that the cafeteria department services. So if the cutting department has 75, that means the assembly should have 25. And we'll calculate that in a bit. Now that we know that, we're going to get the 75% that we calculated, and we're going to multiply that by the cost. The cost for the cafeteria is $169,000. Okay, so we're going to get the 75% times the 169. We've got 169,000. We're going to multiply that by 75%. And that's going to give me 126,750. So from the 169,000 that I'm spending on the cafeteria department, we're going to allocate 126,750 of it to the cutting department because they've got quite a bit of employees, 30. Okay. We're going to do the same thing for the assembly department. Now the assembly department has 10 employees. I'm going to go ahead and get those 10. And I'm going to divide by the total number of employees that we have. And remember, we've got 30 plus 10, that's 40 employees. And let's see what that gives us. Okay, so we've got 10 divided by 40. That gives me 25%. So that means that 25% of my expenses for the cafeteria is going to go to the assembly department. So I've got 25% times the cost of my cafeteria, which is 169,000. Okay, that is going to give us 169,000 times 25%. That is going to give me 42,250. Okay. Okay, so that is what is happening. Now let's go back and recap, okay? What is happening in this problem? We have two support departments that service the two production departments. The cost drivers are square footage for the janitorial department and number of employees for the cafeteria departments. Now the company incurred janitorial and cafeteria expenses. Now these expenses don't relate to any of the production, but these departments are needed to keep those departments going. Okay, they're support departments. They support the production departments. Now, the cost of those two support departments needs to be allocated to the production department based on their usage. Okay, based on the cost drivers. Okay, so on the top for the janitorial department, the cost driver is the square footage. Okay, so we figured out that the cutting department has 20% of the square footage that is cleaned by the janitorial department, while the assembly department has 80% of the square footage that is cleaned and maintained by the janitorial department. Once we figure out the percentages, we simply multiply the percentages by the cost, the department cost for the janitorial department, and that will give us the allocation for each. So the total janitorial department is 310,000. If we look and do the math over here, we are allocating 62,000 to cutting and 248,000 to assembly. The total gives me my 310,000 from my janitorial department costs. Okay, we followed the same logic for the cafeteria. For the cafeteria, my cost driver is the number of employees being serviced. The cutting department has 30 employees. The assembly has 10. We did the percentage calculation and we identified that 75% of the employees being serviced by the cafeteria department are from the cutting department. 25% of the employees are from the assembly department. Once we calculate those percentages, we simply multiply those percentages by the cafeteria department cost of 169,000. So if we look over here, the distribution is 126,750 for the cutting department. And if we add the 42,250 for the assembly department, that gives me my total 169,000 that is for the cafeteria department cost. So all we did was get this 169,000 and split it amongst the departments based on the number of employees. And on the top, we allocated it based on the square footage being serviced. Okay, so fairly straightforward calculations, nothing really complex about this. It's just a matter of understanding and reading and figuring out the distribution to the production departments. Okay, so that is it for this lecture. Please make sure that if you have questions or concerns, you reach out to me. I'm available during my office hours, or you can always send me a Blackboard message or an email or a Pronto message. Okay, I'm here to assist you. And that is it. Until next time, have a wonderful day.